His phone buzzed against the marble sink while the shower ran behind the locked bathroom door. The screen lit up with a message from T. "I miss your bed." My fingers went numb, but I typed back with his thumb's lazy confidence, "Come over tonight." 43 minutes later, the doorbell rang, and when I opened it, my younger sister was standing on my porch with wet hair, a black overnight bag, and a manila envelope tucked under her arm. "My name is Vivian Harlow. I'm 33 years old. I thought I had uncovered an affair, but what walked through my front door was the first loose thread in a property fraud built around my marriage, my inheritance, and my own forged signature." Tessa didn't scream. That was the first thing I remember clearly. She just stared at me, then looked past my shoulder toward the hallway, like she expected Evan to appear and explain me away. "Viv," she whispered, "you're not supposed to be home." I stepped aside without speaking, not because I was calm, because something in her face told me the affair was not the worst part. Evan came out of the bathroom 10 seconds later with a towel around his waist and all the blood gone from his face. He looked at Tessa, then at the envelope, then at me. And that was when I understood there were 3 people in my marriage. Maybe 4, if you counted the county recorder. The manila envelope slipped from Tessa's hand and hit the floor at my feet. A few papers slid halfway out. I saw the blue stamp first. Rockland County Recorder's Office. Then I saw our home address, then my own name, except it was not written in my handwriting. Evan lunged for the papers, but I was faster. I picked them up and backed into the dining room, where the chandelier was still on from the dinner I had cooked for him 2 hours earlier. "Vivian," he said carefully, "don't do this right now." That sentence told me everything. The top page was a recorded quitclaim deed. I knew just enough to recognize the words and not enough to understand why my signature was on it. The deed said I had transferred my interest in our house to an LLC called Harlow Ridge Properties. The date was 3 weeks earlier. The notary stamp was from Tessa's workplace. My sister worked as an administrative assistant at a small title company downtown. I had never paid much attention to it. She filed papers, answered phones, scanned closing packets. At least, that was what she told me. I looked at the signature line again. Vivian Harlow. It curved too dramatically on the V. The H was closed at the top. I never wrote my H that way. "This isn't mine," I said. Evan's jaw tightened. "You signed a lot of papers after your dad died. You probably don't remember." My father had died 8 months earlier. He had left me $180,000 from the sale of his machine shop, and I had used most of it to pay down the mortgage on the house Evan and I bought before we were married. Evan said it was our future. Tessa cried at the funeral and told me Dad would be proud that I was building something stable. Now she stood in my entryway wearing mascara. She'd clearly applied for my husband. "Tessa," I said, still holding the deed, "why is your title company's notary stamp on a document I never signed?" She opened her mouth, but Evan spoke over her. "Because we were protecting the house." "From who?" He looked at me like I was stupid. "From probate issues. From your dad's creditors. From tax problems. You wouldn't understand the structure." That was the second sentence that changed my life. You wouldn't understand the structure. I sat down at the dining room table and started spreading the pages out one by one. Quitclaim deed, operating agreement, consent of spouse, a bank authorization form, a loan estimate from Northgate Community Bank. My name appeared on all of them. My real signature appeared on none of them. At the bottom of the loan estimate, I saw the number, $214,000. I looked up slowly. What loan? Neither of them answered. The shower was still dripping in the bathroom. Evan's phone was still on the sink. My sister's overnight bag sat by the door like she had planned to sleep in the bed I had made that morning. But the paper on my dining room table told me something much colder. They had not just been sleeping together. They had been borrowing against my house. I didn't call the police. That was my first mistake, and maybe my first smart move. Evan kept saying, "Let's all calm down," which is what guilty people say when evidence is lying flat under a chandelier. Tessa finally sank into the chair across from me. Her hands were shaking so hard the bracelet on her wrist clicked against the table. "I didn't know it was this much," she said. Evan snapped, "Shut up!" I looked at him. "Don't talk to her. Talk to me." He laughed once, but there was no humor in it. "You want the truth? Fine. Your father's money wasn't enough. The house had equity. We used it." "We? You and I are married, Vivian. That doesn't make my signature yours." His face changed then. The mask slipped. For years, Evan had been the charming contractor everyone trusted. White smile, firm handshake, knew which wine to bring to a barbecue. But the man staring at me now looked cornered and mean. "You think you'd even have this house without me?" he said. "I found it. I negotiated it. I renovated half of it. With my inheritance. With your obsession over your dead father's approval." The room went silent. Tessa flinched before I did. I stood up, gathered the papers, and walked toward the kitchen. Evan moved to block me. "Where are you going?" "To make copies." He grabbed my wrist. It was not the hardest he had ever touched me. That realization came fast and ugly. There had been little moments before, fingers digging into my arm at a party, a shove disguised as bumping past me, the way he drove too fast when angry. I had filed them under stress, under marriage, under don't be dramatic. Not anymore. "Let go," I said. He squeezed once, then released me with a smile. "You're overreacting." I went to the junk drawer, pulled out my phone, and photographed every page while both of them watched. Evan didn't stop me. That scared me more than if he had, because he had another plan. At 11:18 p.m., I locked myself in the guest bathroom and sent the photos to my email, my best friend Mara, and an old college friend named Daniel who had become a real estate attorney. Then I deleted the sent messages from my phone, not because I was sneaky, but because Evan had guessed my passcode before. When I came out, Tessa was crying. Evan had changed clothes, jeans, boots, a gray hoodie. My stomach dropped. "Where are you going?" I asked. "To clear my head." "With my sister?" He didn't answer. Tessa whispered, "Viv, I'm sorry." "No," I said. "You're not sorry. You're scared." Her eyes flicked toward Evan. There it was. Fear. Not guilt. Not love. Fear. The door slammed behind them at 11:27 p.m. I stood in my own foyer barefoot, holding forged documents and listening to my husband drive away with my sister. Then his phone buzzed again. He had left it on the bathroom sink. I ran to it. A new message appeared from an unknown number. Did she see the deed? If yes, move to Plan B before morning. My whole body went cold. Another text arrived. Do not let Vivian contact the bank. I took a photo with my phone, then checked Evan's notifications. Missed calls from Northgate Bank. 3 from someone saved as R. Vale. 2 from Tessa. 1 voicemail. I played it. A man's voice filled the bathroom, low and irritated. "Evan, the appraisal discrepancy is already flagged. If your wife challenges the signature, the loan freezes. You told me she was handled. Handle her." I stopped breathing on the word handled. At 6:04 the next morning, I was sitting in Daniel's law office wearing yesterday's clothes and gripping a coffee I couldn't drink. He read the papers twice. Then he looked at me and said, "Vivian, this isn't just fraud. What is it?" He turned one page around and tapped the LLC registration. Harlow Ridge Properties has 3 members, Evan, a woman named Tessa Harlow, my sister, and a third person. I leaned forward. Daniel's voice lowered. "Your mother." For a moment, I thought Daniel had misread it. "My mother is in assisted living," I said. "She can't remember what she ate for breakfast." Daniel's face stayed grim. That may be why they used her. He slid the operating agreement toward me. There it was. Elaine Harlow, 20% member. My mother's signature looked like a child had traced it. 8 months ago, after Dad died, Mom's dementia had worsened. Evan insisted we move her into Rosemere House, a private facility he said was worth every penny. I had cried with gratitude when he handled the paperwork. Now I wondered what else he had handled. Daniel made 3 calls in front of me. One to the county recorder to request certified copies, one to Northgate Bank's fraud department, one to a forensic document examiner he trusted. Then he said, "Do not go home alone." So of course I did. Not inside. Just close enough to sit across the street in Mara's car and watch my house. At 9:42 a.m., Evan's truck pulled into the driveway. Tessa got out of the passenger side. My mother got out of the back. I almost opened the door and ran to her. Mara grabbed my sleeve. "No, look!" A silver sedan parked behind them. A man in a navy suit stepped out carrying a folder. "Our Vale," I whispered. They took my mother inside. My phone rang 3 minutes later. Evan. I let it go to voicemail, then a text. "Your mom is upset. Come home and stop this before she gets hurt." Mara swore under her breath. At 10:11, Daniel called. "Northgate has a closing scheduled for tomorrow morning," he said. "Not for the loan you saw. A second transaction. Sale of the property from Harlow Ridge Properties to Vale Development." I couldn't speak. He continued. "Purchase price is listed at $390,000. Our house is worth at least $600,000. I know, that's the point. They strip the equity, transfer title, and you spend years suing people who vanish. Can you stop it? I filed an emergency notice of fraud with the bank and recorder, but I need you to get your mother's medical records and anything proving incapacity. Today." Rosemere House was 20 minutes away. When I arrived, the receptionist wouldn't meet my eyes. "Mrs. Harlow checked out this morning." "Checked out? With who?" She hesitated. "Your husband had authorization." "No, he didn't." She slid a copy across the desk. My signature was at the bottom. Again, not mine. I felt something inside me go quiet, not calm, sharpened. "Print her medication logs," I said. "I'm not allowed." I leaned over the counter. "My mother was removed by people using forged consent. If you make me wait for a subpoena, your name goes in Daniel Cross's filing next to theirs." 5 minutes later, I walked out with a folder thick enough to matter. In the parking lot, Tessa called. I answered. She was crying so hard I barely understood her. "Viv, I didn't know about Mom. I swear. Evan said you agreed. He said the LLC protected everything if Mom needed Medicaid. Then Vale said the signatures were just a formality." "Where are you?" Silence. "Tessa." "He brought Mom to the house. Vale's there. They want her to sign something on video." My knees weakened. "Put her in your car and leave." "I can't." "Why?" Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Because Evan has Dad's old gun." I didn't remember hanging up. 1 second, I was in the Rosemere parking lot with my mother's medication logs in my hand. The next, I was driving toward my house while Daniel shouted through my speakerphone, "Vivian, do not go in. Call 911. I am calling 911. After that, park away from the house and wait. But waiting felt like another word for letting them finish. The dispatcher kept me on the line. I told her there was a firearm, an elderly woman with dementia, active property fraud, and 3 suspects in my home. Saying it out loud made it sound impossible, like a story that happened to other women, foolish women, women who ignored signs. Then I saw my porch, Evan's truck, Vale's sedan, Tessa's little white car blocked in. I parked 2 houses down and walked through our neighbor's side yard, crouching behind the hydrangeas I had planted myself the first summer we moved in. Through the dining room window, I saw them. My mother sat at the table in her pale blue cardigan, confused and tiny beneath the chandelier. Tessa stood beside her, face blotchy from crying. Vale had his phone propped up, recording. Evan stood near the kitchen doorway. In his right hand was my father's revolver, not pointed, just visible. That was Evan's talent. He never had to say the threat directly. Vale's voice carried through the cracked window. Mrs. Harlow, please state that you are signing voluntarily as a member of Harlow Ridge Properties. My mother smiled politely. Is Richard coming? Richard was my father. Tessa broke. She doesn't know where she is. Evan slammed his palm on the table. My mother jumped. She knows enough. I raised my phone and recorded. Vale slid a document toward Mom. Just sign where the yellow tab is. My mother picked up the pen. I don't know what I planned. Maybe I didn't. I just stood up and pounded on the window with both fists. Everyone froze. Tessa screamed my name. Evan spun toward me, and for one terrible second, the gun turned with him. Then sirens wailed at the end of the street. His face changed from rage to calculation. He grabbed the document, shoved it into Vale's folder, and ran toward the back door. I ran too, not after him, toward the front. By the time I burst through my own door, 2 patrol cars were skidding to a stop outside. Tessa was on the floor holding Mom, who was sobbing without understanding why. Vale had both hands raised and a lawyer's smile already forming. "There's been a misunderstanding," he called. I lifted my phone. "I recorded you coercing an incapacitated woman at gunpoint." The smile died. An officer moved past me. "Where's the weapon?" "Back door," I said. Evan ran. The house erupted. Boots on hardwood. Radios crackling. My mother crying, "I want to go home," while sitting in the home my husband had almost stolen. Daniel arrived 15 minutes later with a court filing in his hand and fury on his face. But Evan was gone. So was the revolver. By dusk, Vale was detained for questioning. Tessa had given a statement, and Mom was back under medical supervision at Rosemere with a guard posted by a very apologetic administrator. I should have felt safer. Instead, at 8:36 p.m., an email landed in my inbox from Evan. Subject: "You should have stayed stupid." There was one attachment, a video. I clicked before Daniel could stop me. It showed me in our bedroom 6 weeks earlier opening the small safe where I kept Dad's insurance papers. Evan's voice came from behind the camera. "See? She has access. She knows everything." Then the frame shifted to a document on the bed. My signature was already there. At the bottom of the email, Evan had written, "If I go down, you go with me." Daniel didn't flinch at Evan's threat. He watched the video twice, then paused on the frame of the document. "Vivian," he said, "this helps us." I stared at him. How? Because he just proved he was filming you without consent, inside your bedroom, before the loan documents were filed. And look. He zoomed in on the paper. The signature was already dry. The pen beside it still had the cap on. By morning, Daniel had sent the video, metadata, forged documents, and my recording from the window to the police, the bank, and the judge, handling the emergency injunction. Northgate froze both transactions. The county recorder placed a fraud hold on the deed. Vale Development denied everything publicly, then quietly fired R. Vale before lunch. It didn't save him. Tessa's statement put him in the room, directing the signatures, promising Evan the sale would clear before anyone could challenge it. Evan stayed missing for 36 hours. They found him at a motel 2 counties away, using cash from an account I didn't know existed. Dad's revolver was wrapped in a towel under the bathroom sink. When the detective called, I didn't cry. I sat at my kitchen table beneath the same chandelier and looked at the empty chair where my mother had been forced to sit. Then I said, "Good." The next months were not clean or cinematic. They were ugly. There were hearings, subpoenas, bank interviews, handwriting experts, and mornings when I woke up convinced I had imagined all of it until I saw the new deadbolt on my bedroom door. Tessa took a plea deal. She lost her job, her license eligibility, and for a while, me. She wrote me letters from a court-ordered treatment program. I didn't answer the first 6. On the 7th, she didn't ask forgiveness. She wrote, "I was jealous that Dad trusted you. Evan saw that and used it." That was the first honest thing she had said. Evan fought until the forensic examiner testified that every signature had been traced from old insurance forms. Then he took a deal too: fraud, coercion, elder exploitation, unlawful surveillance, and illegal possession of the firearm during the incident. The divorce was almost boring compared to the rest. I got the house, not because I won something, but because it had always been mine in the only way that mattered. Dad's money in the walls, Mom's roses along the fence, my hands in every room I had nearly lost. 6 months later, I brought Mom home for Sunday lunch. Her dementia had softened the sharp edges of what happened. She didn't remember the gun or the papers or Evan's voice telling her to sign, but she remembered the house. She stood in the doorway, touched the frame, and smiled. "Richard fixed this," she said. I swallowed hard. "Yes, Mom, he did." That afternoon, after she fell asleep on the sofa, I went upstairs and opened the bedroom windows. I stripped the bed Evan had betrayed me in, carried every sheet outside, and threw them into a black trash bag. Then I bought new ones: white cotton, blue stitching, mine. By the following spring, Tessa and I sat on the porch while Mom dozed inside. We were not healed, not yet, but she had brought tulip bulbs, and I let her plant them beside Dad's roses. At sunset, my phone lit up on the porch rail. For 1 second, my hands went cold. Then I saw Daniel's name and the message: "Fraud hold officially lifted. Your title is clear." I looked through the window at my mother sleeping safely in the living room, at my sister pressing soil around new roots, at the bed upstairs that no longer held anyone's lies, and I finally breathed, like the house belonged to me again. If your husband's phone ever lights up with a message that turns your blood cold, don't ignore it. I answered one text, and it saved my home, my mother, and my life. If this story stayed with you, tell me in the comments what you would have done in my place. And if you want more stories like this, please like the video and subscribe to the channel.